Located along the south shore of Nova Scotia is the little town of Chester. Like most Nova Scotia towns, Chester is home to an awful lot of ghost stories. One of these stories is about Marie, ghost of Haddon Hall, who has been heard and seen in Haddon Hall for over 50 years or so. According to all reports, Marie is quite friendly, and she's believed to be hanging around Haddon Hall, just sort of keeping an eye on how the old building is being tended to.
My name is Cynthia O'Connell, and I was the general manager of Haddon Hall from November 1994 until February 2006. Before I started, a lot of people, my friends and just people around town, had warned me about ghosts at Haddon Hall, and that they had experienced things and that there was no way they would live there. I took over from two people that were there just watching the property, and the last words to me was, "Good luck to you, the place is haunted, we can't stay any longer." So this one night I was in bed, it was 3 o'clock in the middle of the night, I hear a pounding, like a panic pound. It was like bang, 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 like enough that it woke me straight up. I was asleep right up. Maybe it's the heat, maybe I need to check the heat, maybe the heat has gone down, which it had. At the time I had a small lovebird, or it was a little bird, and it was in its cage, and I kept a little heater on it, like I kept a little back enough that if the heat went down, it got cold, this would keep this bird warm, because you got to keep your birds warm at nighttime or they'll die. The heater had turned off, and so the bird was in the corner of its cage freezing because the heat had gone off. At that point, I felt that I was woken up by the entity to let me know the bird was in trouble. And at that point, I never felt that the entity wanted anything bad to happen to me or to my two pets that I had with me.
My name is Wilma McKenzie. I was the head housekeeper at Haddon Hall, started there in '94 until 2000. Never ever seen Marie, but I heard her and she, didn't want me there. She would turn the water on, let the water run, and you would hear noise in different room would be different. I go and clean up a room, and she'd come back behind me and sit on the bed and stuff to wrinkle it. And of course, Cynthia would check it, and it looked like I didn't even it out, Anyway, so that's the way it went on until one day I was in the high-tide bathroom, cleaning the bathtub, and she poked me in the rear end. And at that time, Cynthia had always told me, just tell her to leave you alone and talk to her. And I was kind of scared to do that. So anyway, that day that she did that, I turned around and I said, Marie, you leave me alone. I have to work to make a living for my kids, When I'm done my day's work, you can have this place all to yourself. So that was the only episode touching that I had. And after that, it was just like letting me know she was there, like the breeze flying by, or, she always let me know she was there.
There was more than one entity at Haddon Hall. There was an entity in what we called the gatehouse, which was a building halfway up the hill. And there was a lot of activity in that building. I never knew who or what that was, but there was, and it was a very negative feeling.
I also want to tell you folks about the lesser known ghost that has been seen outside of Haddon Hall, namely Annie, or as I like to call her, the ghost of Haddon Hill. Annie lived in the gatehouse of Haddon Hall, a small building that stood about halfway up Haddon Hill, kind of looking like the structure had tried to run all the way up the hill and it just sort of pooped out halfway up. Building itself has been torn down a long time ago. Story goes that Annie had just wandered onto the property one day looking for a bit of shelter and maybe some food, and the groundskeeper hadn't had the heart to turn her away. So he let her stay at the gatehouse, and after a few years she just came to be a part of the residence. One morning the town doctor was called in. Seemed that Annie was pregnant, although no one seemed to know just who the father actually was. Then tragedy struck. The child was stillborn. And Annie was grief-stricken. Her sorrow consumed her entirely. She wrapped herself in a shawl and she sat in an old rocking chair and just rocked away her day. She sat there in the gatehouse, cradling the corpse of her tiny dead baby, keeping it wrapped in an old quilt. And authorities tried to take the baby's corpse from her. Annie would resist. She didn't actually physically resist anyone's effort to move her dead baby from her arms. She didn't hit anyone or kick or bite or even use coarse language. It was like she sort of froze up and stiffened, one witness stated. You couldn't move her, no matter how hard you tried. It was like her arms had turned to stone. After a time, folks just decided to give up on Annie's resistance. After all, she wasn't really doing anyone any kind of harm. So they let her sit there and wait there in her rocking chair, just a rocking away. They made sure she was fed regularly, and she seemed to be able to take care of her other needs. And she sat there day in, day out, just a rocking away, squeak, a squeak, a squeak, and then one day, the squeaking stopped. Annie had passed. She wasn't allowed to be buried in the local graveyard on account of her being an unwed mother. So the groundskeeper placed her remains in an old wooden wagon, and he found a little clearing at the base of the hill, and he dug himself a good old deep grave and buried Annie, dead baby and all. Since then, witnesses have reported seeing the sight of a woman walking along the hillside with her arms cradled about a quilted bundle about the size and the shape of a tiny little baby. A few brave souls have actually tried to catch up to that vision, but they might as well have been trying to catch hold of a vagrant midnight breeze.
The house that my grandmother lived in was built by the French fishermen. A Mrs. Charlotte Mallock owned the house at the time, and she sort of ran it as a tavern and an inn. And many of the gentlemen from the neighborhood in the village would gather in one of the rooms and play cards. And Mr. Brown was staying the night, and he asked if he could join them. And somewhere during the evening, as the alcohol flowed around the game, someone accused another of cheating, and a small pistol spoke, and Mr. Brown collapsed on the floor and died. Well, they all sobered up in a hurry. It was winter. They couldn't dig a grave. They couldn't conceal the body of Mr. Brown. So they dragged the poor unfortunate's body down over the wooden bridge that crossed the end of the mill pond at that time. And they dumped him in the open water where they hoped the brook would carry him out under the ice. And nobody said anything. Everybody swore each to secrecy. And they went home a lot more sober than they intended to be when they sat down to play. And it wasn't long before Mr. Brown was seen trying to climb the bridge. And anyone who had to cross the bridge at night sort of quick-stepped it and hoped that Mr. Brown wasn't trying to climb the bridge. Now, the bridge was later replaced sometime around 1860, 1880 with a single stone bridge. And people thought that the ghost of Mr. Brown came and tried to climb up the bridge, the stone bridge. So the legend continued.
Coming up, the team heads for Chester in search of the ghost of Mr. Brown.
We're here at the old Chester Bridge. The sun's going down. Let's go get some gear and see if we can't contact Mr. Brown. You've got your EMF on?
I do.
Okay. I'm going to turn this one on as well. And then we're gonna walk around this bridge a bit.
EMF detectors locate sources of electromagnetic radiation. Since ghosts are thought to emit electromagnetic radiation or disturb existing magnetic fields, these devices can be used to potentially detect them.
Mr. Brown, did you go off the left side of the bridge or the right side of the bridge? If I turn to my right, light up the indicator if it was this side of the bridge. What about the left side of the bridge here? Were you dumped off this side of the bridge, Mr. Brown? Light this detector off, Mr. Brown. Light it up. If your presence is here. I think we were getting a better reading on the other side of the bridge, weren't we? Let's just wander back over here. Mr. Brown, is this the side of the bridge that you were tossed off of? You getting hits? Maybe he was thrown off this side of the bridge. This seems consistent, both of these going off at the same time. Is this where you were thrown off the bridge, Mr. Brown? We tested this equipment before we came out to make sure these weren't gonna set each other off. Ooh.
Jumping pretty good.
Try and communicate with us through the ovulus, Mr. Brown.
The ovulus converts environmental readings into words. It communicates by selecting words from a preset dictionary that correlates with external changes. Chosen words are displayed on the screen and an audible voice will be heard.
The odd thing, it's not over the edge, it's underneath of us.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So if he got tossed on the left side
And get stuck underneath.
stuck underneath, this is where he could be.
Really?
Really?
Really? Wow. He could be standing right in front of us, we wouldn't even know.
Yeah, he comes and goes.
What am I saying? We don't even know. We got the equipment right here.
Right.
If he's standing right here, he's right here. Lower yours down a bit there, Sean. There's something going on down here.
Yeah, I'm getting hit.
Are ya? What's the temperature like there?
20.4.
That's a pretty strong hit right there.
Feed.
Feed. We do know that there's no wiring underneath this bridge.
No. Nothing that would carry a current that would set these off. Yeah, we definitely got a hot spot over there for
Right.
sure.
So I'm thinking we should definitely go down. As crazy as this is going to be, I think we should definitely go down there and see what we get for readings next to the water. Let's do that. All right, Mr. Brown, we're coming down here very carefully. We're down here on the lower part of the bridge. Is this where you were floating? Is this where you were during that winter? Oh. Can you say something to us through the ovulus? Give us an idea?
Pray.
Pray. Wow. What do we need to pray for, Mr. Brown? If we're the only ones that have visited you, Mr. Brown, for quite some time, I can understand you giving us a lot of readings tonight. And I can understand if you're exhausted.
Rip.
Whoa. Oh. So we just had Rip come up on the ovulus. Guess there's two meanings to that. Or a few more than that. We got Riptide, rest in peace.
I think given where we are, rest in peace is probably a lot more applicable.
I agree with you on that for sure. If you're telling us you're resting in peace, I don't want to bother you anymore. And I'm sorry this happened to you.
Shadow. Form.
Seeing as a shadowy form.
Well, that's what I just thought. And this spikes every once in a while here. We'll leave you alone, Mr. Brown. So let's go collect the gear and such, and then over the next little while we'll see if we did capture anything on the audio. And yeah, this has been a great night.
Definitely.
All right, let's head back up. Let's get the gear, boys. Well, that was quite an evening on this old Chester Bridge. As far as our investigation was concerned tonight, we're happy when things like this happen. We're able to record proof of electromagnetic fields that are around in the area or around in a specific small little area and zoom in on it, zoom in on the area where this is happening. It's really nice when we have a couple pieces of equipment, and when they're registering together like that, it really kind of confirms that Mr. Brown, I believe, was on the bridge with us tonight. I didn't feel, I did get, the hair sticking up on the back of my neck a bit, but at the same time, I didn't feel like it was malevolent or like anything dark. I think something, what happened to him was pretty terrible. And for us to be able to visit this location, where he was, where the incident didn't happen, it happened just up the road here, but where he was discarded and then found in the spring.
Right.
I think we've confirmed that this bridge definitely has something to it.
Definitely.
It's got a story to tell, and I think it told the story tonight.
As I left, I walked through the front hall, and before I closed the door on my way out, I looked back and I said, Marie, thank you very much for sharing your beautiful home with me for the last 12 years. Thank you, and be nice to the new owners. And I closed the door and left.
It was interesting, and like I said, although Marie might be still there, I would go back in a minute. I'd go back in a minute if I could. Yeah.